Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, therapy is in session. Nick Bahe, Ruud, game recap pod, Nebraska, Purdue, 43-37. You walked in, you watched 2 seconds of a Full House episode that my daughter Mava forced you to watch, and then we were down to business. We had to get down to the pod studio. We've not talked about anything.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes for Jesse Consopoulos, Joey Gladstone, and Danny Tanner. We always have a couple minutes.
We always got a couple minutes for them, but now we got to get it.
The Bahe family's all, head over heels. The whole family's in on this. Right?
Yes, we're so all in on Full House right now. My daughter Mava, 6 years old. It's like Stephanie early on is her age, then Michelle becomes her age. Like it's just amazing. It is it's incredible. But instead of talking about Jesse, Joey, DJ, Danny, Kimmy Gibbler and the gang, we're going to talk about Trey Palmer, Anthony Grant, Casey Thompson, Uncle Mickey,
the real Full House.
Bill Bush,
the real Full House,
the real Full House that's going on. I got a lot of energy right now for this. I'm very excited to talk about this game. There's a lot in that game.
There's a lot in that game. I don't know. Did you see the Omaha World Herald today?
Yes. Chattel?
Surprisingly positive takeaway. And so I guess that's where this was because we didn't talk, not even one.
It's interesting you say that though, because I think a lot of it is a lot of this is how you want to frame it and look at it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do think is interesting. Yeah, I wrote this down to talk about at the end, but I think we can get into it now before we get into we're going to get into a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to, there's a lot of talk about the effort and the fight with this group and all that. I don't want to go overboard on that conversation because I wouldn't say effort was the issue under Scott Frost.
I don't think so. No.
Outside of the end, maybe effort wasn't what doomed the Frost era. It was execution, poise, the details that doomed. So I think it's interesting that it's almost like we already have revisionist history on how the Frost era went. Like the whole 4.5 years, it was all Georgia Southern and all that stuff.
It's so unfair because they were trying to say that these guys are fighters all of a sudden. I'm like, that wasn't the problem. We lost a bunch of one-score games over the last 2-3 years with a defense that was fighting,
yes,
but we couldn't just get out of our own way with mistakes and just simple game management things.
Right.
That was the problem. The details, not the effort, has kind of been my takeaway from the Frost era. So I think the word revisionist history, that's the right.
Yeah.
I feel like it's already starting to happen.
Yeah. And so I think where the effort conversation is valid is in the context of this situation, where if you think about where this team was at a month ago, we're taping this, it's Sunday, October 16th. September 17th was the Oklahoma game. So a month ago, Nebraska was getting ready to play its first game under Mickey Joseph. Frost had been fired, all those sorts of things. I think where the effort conversation is legitimate is as it pertains to this current situation where this team seemingly had every opportunity to throw in the towel, give up on the season. So it's weird. It's almost like we may be splitting hairs here, but to me, I'm like, okay, we can have the effort conversation in the context of coach fired, defensive coordinator fired, and yet this team hasn't given up. But I also don't want to, but it seems like that has spilled over into finally a little bit of effort from the team. It's like, wait a minute, what?
I think so. Effort during a period of uncertainty, that is valid.
I like
effort from the last 4 years. Nobody mentioned that once. I don't think that was ever a talking point about the Scott Frost era. To me, it was never, man, these guys don't work hard, because they seemingly work hard. You hear guys like O'Shawn Mathis come here and they're like, God, these guys, I wasn't ready for how these guys work. The Alabama guys, same thing. These guys work here. They're working. They seemingly play hard, but they just don't always play well, or they don't always execute well, or they seemingly do dumb things at the wrong time, right? Those are the problems. So I think if we try to change it from those to be as the problems to just they play hard, they're going to win. I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah. It's just an interesting, I think it's to give everybody a pass, fans, media, whatever. I think this whole situation is hard to assess.
It's tough.
Like, you don't know really what you're even. Are you upset? Like, I found myself like Nebraska lost and I wasn't even that upset. I was upset because I thought Nebraska had a great opportunity, but I wasn't upset like I had been over the course of the last 4 years. And I don't really know what to attribute that to because it's just an odd situation. But yeah. So you felt like the reaction was a little more positive than you were anticipating?
Maybe more positive than I had. I felt like,
because that's interesting. Because
I don't know. I got to think about this harder just because there's a part of me that felt like that game was more winnable, even with the fact that we, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about how winnable that game was.
It's weird. I feel like I can sit here and look you in the eyes and say, Nebraska, that game was really winnable. Nebraska had every opportunity in the world to win that game. And you could even say we could go into the woulda, coulda, shoulda route and be like, Nebraska should have won the game. Yeah. But then at the same time, I felt like as the game was unfolding, I was like, it feels like Nebraska's getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, I guess
that's true. And I don't know how they're in this game.
That's the part that I think is that I'm a little torn on, where I'm not like, oh, that's such a game we should have won. I don't know that we should have. This is what really threw me off. So I watched the game on delay.
Yep.
And at some point I was like at the.
Oh no!
I was on delay. No, I heard fireworks going off.
Yes, that happened to me last night. I was I had to help get like the kids to bed and all that stuff, and I kept hearing fireworks. And then I'd be like, "Whoa!" And then Kim would be like, "I think Nebraska scored a touchdown." And I'd be like,
So in the past in my neighborhood, when we've won games, you hear fireworks, and so I went. So I kind of in my head thought, well, we're coming back and winning. And then, of course, like
Trey Palmer's
going off. I'm like, we're going to win this thing. And so all of a sudden we get to the last drive and I'm convinced the stop is going to come.
And then it's going to happen.
And it just never did. Right. So I was it was a weird way to watch the game, thinking that like, because I was thinking, we're not playing well. Like, this should be worse. And then I hear fireworks. I'm like, oh, we might win.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. It was the exact same way. I would hear a firework. I'd be about 10, 15, 20 minutes behind. And I'd be like, well, in about 10 minutes, Trey Palmer is going to do something incredible. And it was like clockwork. But I would say my prevailing thought, though, as we're going, like, I felt like in all reality, Nebraska got their fucking teeth kicked in. They got their ass kicked. But there was one dude who just would not let him go away.
Okay, and I'll say this. Our mid-season MVP choice, I think it was a good call. It was a good call.
If I could have strutted my stuff on my neighborhood last night, like Trey Palmer, we gave out our MVP, mid-season MVP, and we said it was Trey Palmer, and we felt weird about it because he's a wide receiver. You watch that game and tell me he's not the MVP of this team.
Oh, I mean, it's easy now. I was just looking at it because he had 297 yards, and 60 of it was rushing.
Yes.
He had 8 touches, so he was roughly 40 yards of touch. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes people get like, 300 yards rushing. It's on like 40 carries or something. Like, he had 8 touches.
Yes. I mean, it was
8 touches.
I tweeted last night, and I rarely tweet during the games, but I tweeted last night that Palmer was like watching it was like watching Steph or KD or LeBron, like a dude that is on a heater, just heat checking it, keeping his team in the game, just making play after play after play. That was remarkable. That's one of the best single game performances I've seen that's on like the short list of like Sioux, 09, Texas, to pick a Taylor Martinez game in 2010. You could go Kansas State on Thursday night, Washington.
One of those Amir games where Amir just carried us on his back. That was video game like that. Yes. I don't say it often, but that felt like when you're playing a video game, you just go, well, all we have to do is keep throwing it deep to this guy and you can't stop it. I mean, we almost shouldn't have done anything else.
Okay, you played Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Tecmo Bowl was if you picked it was literally if you picked, I was always the Cowboys. If I picked Michael Irvin on a fly and defensively you didn't pick the play, it was a touchdown. Yeah. That's what that game felt like. By the second half, Mark Whipple was playing Tecmo Bowl.
Well, and I actually commend Whipple once he kind of like we missed Palmer a couple times too, and we'll talk about that.
I'll get into all that. This is a long intro here.
he's just said, I think coordinators sometimes hesitate to be like, we're just going to do simple things and keep going at it. Like he was like, we'll just keep throwing the fly. Like that's what fans say.
Right.
Coordinators never do that.
Right.
Whipple's like, screw it. Let's keep throwing it. And it was just, I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it.
But no, it was video game-esque. That's what I thought. It was like when I would play Tecmo Bowl, and remember Tecmo Bowl, you could sit there if you and wait for the beauty of Tecmo Bowl is you could throw it like 90 yards, you know what I mean? And like,
or you run to the back of the
end zone, just like, that's what it was like. That's what Trey Palmer was like. Okay. We say all that to get into the game.
Okay.
Intro. I didn't know this game felt like there was too much that happened to just go, let's talk about the offense, the defense, and the special teams.
Yeah.
This is a combination of drive by drive with what we did last week of big significant moments, plays, sequences, all those sorts of things. So let's start at the beginning. Purdue's first drive of the game, I have Hartzog's interception that I wrote down because that felt like because it felt like Purdue was marching down the field, and then one mistake, one errant throw, Hartzog, who seemingly the one thing you got to give that little dude is like if he gets a chance to get his hands on the ball, he usually kind of gets it. But I wrote that play down. Purdue's second drive of the game, there's a theme that'll start coming up here. There was a screen pass. Quentin Newsome whiffs at the line of scrimmage, and instead of it being a tackle for loss, it's a 17-yard gain for Purdue. It felt like the defense's tackle problems popped up again. Like, what do you...
Yeah, so this game was I was thinking about it, I was like trying to go to sleep. I'm like thinking about this.
Yes.
Not sleeping. Because I think sometimes like your scheme puts you in a bad position to tackle and it makes it harder. And there's other times where you're in position, but you just don't tackle. And I felt like this was a game where we were in position and couldn't make relatively manageable like the situations where I think you should get him down. It's not that hard. I think we should make that play. And we consistently missed. I'm looking at, stats. I'm trying to figure out, okay, who had this, but I'm like, they chart quarterback interceptions to go with touchdowns.
Yep.
I wish we charted missed tackles too, because I would love to see how many missed tackles we had, who missed them, because it's felt like we missed a lot of very basic tackles.
Yes.
That just kept all their drives going, kept this momentum going for them. Just kind of bizarrely when we seemingly cleaned some of that up.
Yeah, right. That's what's so weird about it is it felt like Nebraska had taken big strides in the tackling department, and it felt like it just in general, and we'll get into this, it felt like that defensive performance felt a lot like Georgia Southern, Oklahoma, North Dakota to me. Maybe not quite as egregious, but it felt like
I don't know, Nick. I think we missed tackles at a easy
alarming
tackles.
rate.
Yeah.
Like it was, but even with that said, like there were numerous runs where a running back wouldn't get touched until the second level, or there were wide receivers running wide open, like that. It's just perplexing how it felt like the defense had taken two big steps forward, and Saturday night at Purdue was a big step back to me. And I don't know if a lot of it could be Reimer and Henrich. Reimer didn't play, and then Henrich gets knocked out of the game. I don't know if a lot of it is that too.
But the missed tackles were from the DBs. The DBs had a hard time tackling. I felt like we had a tough go there. And then, I think that and the defensive line, like we couldn't get to O'Connell. Like we could not get to him. So to me, I saw our secondary struggling to. I'm okay with Aiden O'Connell and this. What's
Charlie Jones?
Charlie Jones. I mean, some of the stuff they were doing was like, that's just good,
right?
Like the way they execute that, like hat off to them. Good job.
Good offense beats good defense.
But
sometimes.
like we wouldn't just tackle though, right? So like if they're doing that stuff, sometimes they're going to get it, but your job is then to tackle,
right?
Like we seemingly couldn't do that, and so I'm just like, I don't know. It didn't feel like that was. We're not playing Ohio State. This isn't. Alabama's receivers and backs and stuff. So like if you're not playing that good of backs, like you should be tackling.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm doing a terrible job driving the bus here because we're all over the place. But you bring that up because I'll get into Aiden O'Connell threw the ball 54 times.
Yeah.
So if you count some of the scrambles and different things, let's call it 50, almost 60 dropbacks, 0 sacks, 0.
That is a huge number with 60 dropbacks.
You drop back close to 60 times, and Nebraska sacked him 0 times.
I mean,
and there were only 2 tackles for loss. So just the lack of disruption was jarring, even for a team that hasn't been very good in that department.
Yeah, I'd love to sit in the meetings and be like, what was the reason we just couldn't get there? And what was the reason we were having just a lot of trouble setting the, I mean, at the one play was
Millen drew it up. They would have pulling guards and then pitch it the other way.
That's tough. And so to me, that's the kind of play that like Jeff Brom does a good job of. He goes, I know these guys are watching the tackle.
Right.
Okay. Good job by Purdue, but you get 1.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's where as a defender, I have some sympathy for guys who make great, like O'Connell to Charlie Jones. To me, it's like good for you. That scheme play, good for you, Brom. You get 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time I'm in that situation, the back's offset, like I'm going to the back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
I'm coming down if the back's going with him, but like you got to be able to see tackle to back.
Right.
And that's something that I don't think we ever really stopped that play.
No.
Never really.
No, they went to it. How many times? I bet they ran it 5 times,
6 times. So instead of working once,
right,
and then you stop it the next time, they go, we're done with that one.
They kept going to it.
Then they keep going to it. Right? This is the problem with when you don't stop something, like you are now vulnerable and they're going to pick on you.
Right.
And you never want to be the defense getting picked on.
Right. But no, that as a player, you got to be able to identify and think the game. I mean, they can't, the coach can't be out there freezing it, drawing stuff up for you every time. You got to be able to, in real time, diagnose these things. Yeah. And so
that's it. That's what players do, though.
Right.
They can adjust and they go, okay, it's always a bit of a chess match. And sometimes they're going to get you. You wish you could sometimes, you could always win. Sometimes they're going to get you if they're good. Good. All right.
Yes.
But then the next time, I'm ready for that. You got to do something different.
Because even, like there was one back shoulder fade to Charlie Jones where it was on Newsom's back at one point and Jones got it. Like those are the plays you're like,
good on them.
Like O'Connell put it on it. I mean, it was a dime. Jones, unbelievable play. You shake their hand on that. But some of the stuff was not that.
Yeah.
Okay. We were on the second drive of the game. For Purdue. But anyways, so they whiffed at the line of scrimmage, ends up being Nebraska gets Purdue to 3rd and goal, and they let a guy get in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Then Nebraska's second drive of the game, 3 and out. Casey Thompson gets sacked and fumbles, but Hickson recovers. The punt gives Purdue really good field position. Nebraska's defense did a decent job holding them to field goals at time because that's what ended up happening on the ensuing possession. And then on Nebraska's 3rd drive, I wanted to ask you about this. First quarter coming to an end. 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Nebraska, instead of letting it play out, I just wonder if Whipple thought, no, let's get up to the line and try to catch them off guard because they throw a bomb to Oliver Martin, a gain of 45. Is that did they hurry up?
No, until you said that. Now I was surprised they did. I would have thought, quarter's over. But I wonder if that is what Whipple was thinking.
I don't know. I just wanted to ask you, like,
no, I didn't think that at the time, like,
because I didn't think there was wind. There wasn't any wind.
My only thought was, is that if there's a big wind difference, you then, if you want to throw it, you throw it.
Right.
But I never thought about like, let's catch him off guard. But maybe they did.
I don't know. I just was thinking because it seemed like the defense was in. You've been there as a defender where you know how much times you're kind of doing like, all right, I'm going to kind of get lined up, but they're not going to snap it. And not only did they snap it, they then take a shot.
It's kind of a good strategy or you could even kind of like act like you're not going to do anything.
Right.
That's kind of a good idea.
Kind of seemed, I don't know. I just wanted to ask you, like, because it's an amazing throw and catch. And I just didn't know if Whipple was like, I don't know.
Whipple's kind of a gunslinger, though. He doesn't care. I think he just wants to go for it. I'm way more like, I'm always a slow it down. Let's run the clock out guy. I'm a run the clock out guy.
You're all right. Keep the kids alive, drive 25 kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm officially at that point in my life where if I'm in my front yard and I feel like people drive by too fast, I'm like, slow down.
Children in this neighborhood.
Goddamn kids playing around here.
That means we're getting old.
That is. But how about how they punched it in? They almost went like Maryland I.
Wing T.
I mean, so you had I formation, Yant, Nate Boa Constrictor as he's kind of like an offset fullback.
Yeah.
And then Chancellor Boonton reporting for duty.
Goal line.
He's on like the tight wing, and they run that ISO, and Yant pops it in there. I wanted to give some love to
our best blocker.
Oh, he is. Him and Vokalek.
He's not that big though, but
what is it?
He's just as tough. He just brings it.
I'm telling you, like a pancake per block ratio, he's got to be off the charts.
That's what I'm saying. He's a really good blocker.
I mean, it's amazing. Him and Vokalek seem like they are by far the two best blockers on the team. Yeah. But Boa Constrictor and Brewington leading the way. Some things are happening. So Nebraska pops it in 10-7. I wrote this play down because I always got to show love to the Knights. Especially this play just reminded me of you because you're big on not getting tricked. Purdue runs the trick play. Reverse, flip back to O'Connell, and they try to throw a deep ball. Gifford did an excellent job, read his keys, didn't get sucked up, was on the receiver, broke it up. I just wanted to give some love, some Knight pride love.
That's a Knight play. That's a great play. Disciplined young man.
Because then what happens on that drive is punt block. Pretty cool little...
Yeah, off the run.
Like
he was planning it too. So you could tell they were like with the motion they said with the block. That's a great little block.
Did Purdue send someone in motion? And so
Purdue motioned and the guy followed the motion
into a blitz.
Then ran into the blitz as the guy like to clear out.
That's a good
great play.
Because the dude that blitz came there was confusion.
Yeah, and we're actually a little unfortunate though. The ball got forward because that's a touchdown again. If we can just because we got to the spot. Yeah, sometimes that's the luck of the bounce where you just you hit the wrong side of the ball or something.
Right. So block punt. The next drive, you get the first deep ball to Trey Palmer. Little post. 39-yard gain, ball gets all the way down to the 15-yard line. Unfortunately, Nebraska settles for a field goal, but ties the game at 10. At this point, you're like, man, all things considered, it felt like this game could be like 21-0, and it's 10-10. But the problem is, Nebraska proceeds to fall apart for the next 8 minutes. You could argue the game is lost in the 8 to 9 minutes to end the second quarter. So Purdue marches down the field. Gets a 31-yard touchdown pass, a slant to Charlie Jones, missed tackle. I think it was Newsome, 17-10. Next drive, first play. We've talked about this. Casey Thompson, what does he struggle with? I think sometimes his size, he can't see the backers over the middle. He rolls right. He throws. Vokalek is wide open, but he doesn't see the backer. Backer jumps up, interception. Did you feel like it was the same sort of...
It's the thing that's going to keep him out of the NFL.
Right.
I think he is 5'11" at best, and his interceptions, I think he had one early in the year, did the same thing. I think
North Dakota.
He just couldn't see. And it was the same thing where, it was really unfortunate timing too. I mean, that was almost a nail in the coffin for us because it got us to a place where we were really playing catch up then. But
these are these little moments, Bo, where the offense, we talk about it once a game. Nebraska's offense just goes in the crapper for like 2 or 3 straight drives.
Yeah.
Because interception, luckily Purdue goes 3 and out and has to settle for a field goal.
Yeah.
But it's 20-10. Here comes Nebraska on their next drive, and there's probably about 5-6 minutes left in the second quarter. Nebraska goes 3 and out. Casey Thompson sacked twice, and he loses 17 yards on the drive. Yeah. Buschini has a bad punt, so Purdue's drive starts at the 39-yard line. So Nebraska's defense is back onto the field. Oh, by the way, that'll be a theme for the amount of plays Purdue ran. Purdue runs it 7 straight times right down Nebraska's throat, and wing, bang, boom, it's 27-10 with 35 seconds left in the second quarter. So it went from 10-10 to all of a sudden it's 27-10. And it's like, oh man, in 8 minutes, Purdue goes touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Nebraska goes interception, 3 and out, bad punt, and it's code red.
Yeah. The analogy I would use for Nebraska's offense is like, imagine they are a snowball at the top of a hill, right? And one way is really good and one way is really bad.
Right.
And they're going to roll one way or the other, just depending on the quarter. And the problem with that is sometimes when it rolls really bad and the other team's offense is playing well, we almost lose the game right there. Like the game gets so unmanageable when we get down a couple scores that, our defense doesn't play as well from behind. They're just not, I mean, most defenses don't, but we really don't. And then we're playing like, then it almost becomes where then we got to chase points. I think Mickey used that word. We had to chase points, and it's only gonna get harder to play defense. So this was another time where the snowball ran down the wrong side of the hill again.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Real bad, real quick. And Purdue, I mean, we did a decent job keeping the
managing it,
but it's like they had 13 quick points.
Yes,
in the second quarter. Do you go, damn, like
what do you think? And if you knew this, you'd probably call Mickey and tell him, what is it when the snowball goes down the wrong path? Is there any sort of common? I mean, of course, it's 3 and outs. It's sacks.
I think it's sacks.
Yeah, that's what
I think when we can't protect, it gets ugly.
Right.
I think when we're running the ball, even if you have 3 runs and it's 4th and 2, you go, oh, okay, it feels different than if you got sacked twice,
right?
Or I threw a pick. Like when you're turning the ball over
or losing yards. Because I don't know. I mean, because you're right. That's a good way to put it. It's like everybody that's gone skiing, there's like a green bunny slope or there's like a black double diamond with moguls. And it's like sometimes it goes down the double diamond with moguls and it's like, and that's what happened for 8 minutes. But this was a big final drive for Nebraska then of the quarter. They get the ball with 35 seconds left. Ramir Johnson sighting. They run a draw to Ramir. He gets 17 yards. Then Casey Thompson scrambles, steps up, runs for 31 yards all the way into Purdue territory. And Nebraska doesn't score, but they're able to get Bleak Road to kick a field goal. So you at least went into halftime finally kind of we at least scored to stop the bleeding for the moment. Andy knew Nebraska would get the ball to start the second half. Real quick, though. At halftime, it certainly felt like offensively, outside of 2 long passes to Martin and Palmer, and then a long run from Casey Thompson, Nebraska's offense did nothing. In fact, in the first half, Nebraska had 49 yards rushing. 48 of those yards came on the 2 runs from Ramir and Casey Thompson. Okay. Nebraska had 1 yard rushing in the first half. So we also talk about, Bo, how that snowball goes down the black double diamond with moguls. When you cannot, it's not like I struggle to run the ball. You could not run the ball.
And we didn't even try. I don't think we even tried after. Let me see. What was our boy Anthony Grant? Let's see. Anthony Grant,
see if I
11 rushes for 35 yards. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's an ugly game for him. I like us when we're more balanced. I mean, that was exciting to watch Trey Palmer do that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's not a sustainable thing.
It's not sustainable. And I don't think it's a winning formula either.
Then defensively, Purdue scores 27 points. They have 296 total yards and 19 first downs. It just, in some ways, they were lucky it was only 27-13. That's how I felt at halftime.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of yards. It's a lot of time.
Yes.
That's.
So halftime, 27-13. Here comes Nebraska to start the second half. Whipple, the boys got together, figured out what they wanted to do. And I think what they wanted to do was someone brought in the Nintendo cartridge. Like, I got Tecmo Bowl, and Whipple was like,
it's not working. Try it again. Really blow it. There you go.
Put it in the Nintendo, and it was pretty much Tecmo Bowl. Let's just air it out. 3rd and 6, first drive. Our boy Vokalek over the middle, ball to Vokalek, and it very eerily similar to what Grant did to start the second half. Can just trucked some dude and goes for a 30-yard gain.
I mean, I think somebody in the house was like, Vokalek, I think they said something about your mother. He's like, they say about mother?
They talk about my mother. I get the ball and I do not juke. No elusiveness from Vokalek. I take crown of head, put it in his crown of his head. We figure out who better man. That's how we settle it in Vokalek country.
He said what?
He said what about my mother? But he trucked that dude.
Yeah.
Then the very next play.
Gotta go.
Trey Palmer, 37 yards. Touchdown, great answer. And all of a sudden, you go, Purdue, from Purdue's perspective, they probably go, fuck, man, I feel like we're dominating this team, and it's 27-20.
Yeah, it's such an odd game with just the way we scored in these huge plays and could do nothing else.
Nothing else other than that.
And Purdue did the opposite. He just chunked us,
right?
Picked us apart.
They Charlie Jones us to death
for all game long.
It's just incredible, though. But then there's a little opportunity here. Purdue gets the ball, then the first drive of the second half, Nebraska forces a punt. So Nebraska has the ball with a chance to tie the game. Nebraska goes 3 and out. Casey Thompson took a big shot on 3rd down, got rocked. And then you have Buschini, who had a few timely bad punts. He had a bad punt where then Purdue has really good field position. They have an 8-play drive. But once again, Nebraska's defense on the low did a decent job of standing tough when they needed to in the red zone. They force a field goal, and Purdue misses. So technically, Nebraska's defense got 2 straight stops to start the second half. Yeah. No points surrendered. Nebraska's 3rd drive of the game. It's a huge drive on a variety of levels. 3rd drive of the 3rd quarter, excuse me. Yeah. 6:22 left in the 3rd quarter. Just getting excited. Here it comes. Reverse.
Gotta go.
I'll catch y'all in the flip side. Trey Palmer, reverse. Dog. Don't tell me that when he, first of all, he looked fast to get through the initial line, and then he had to let 2 big old hogs, like some guys like, yeah, here we come. Easy, big fellas. Yeah. And it was like, there was a yeehaw. Trey had to let those guys kind of get clear. And then when he was, and he turned it on, goes 60 yards. He looked fast.
And I don't even think that was his top end. I don't think we've seen him run 100 meters as fast as you can run.
Right.
Remember what was his, Xavier Betts got the straightaway for 80.
Yes.
I want to see Trey Palmer, how fast he is. If it's just I'm sprinting without having to stop and wait for the hogs.
Because wait for the
every good screen pass going forward is yeehaw.
Trips right, Z motion, yeehaw on 2.
There he goes.
Damn, here we go.
All right, boys, this is what we've been waiting for.
Palmer, though, he's effortless.
He's got one of those strides where he's just you are so much faster than the average human. It just doesn't even look hard.
At this point, though, and again, Nick Bahe tries to bring everything back to basketball. This is that point in the 3rd quarter where Steph just hit 2 straight bombs and he's got 30, and you start texting your boys this
guy's feeling it.
This guy's feeling it. At this point, you go, Palmer's feeling it.
Yeah.
But you get all 60 yards all the way down inside the red zone. Maybe one of the biggest plays of the game. Casey Thompson, Alante Brown, 3rd and goal. Alante Brown isn't just wide open. It is like a layup. That is the equivalent of a layup touchdown.
He could have chest passed the ball. He might have been better off just being doing that, and nobody would have been near it. And he airmails it out of the end zone.
It wasn't even close.
And that play is so big,
huge,
because then it's we never got the chance to be to tie it.
You never could tie them.
Yep.
And it looked like a really good play design where I think they brought Trey Palmer in motion and
Decoy,
he's doing the out. And I think everybody and their mom, because everybody, Trey's on a heater, everybody presses the line to Trey, and Alante slips into the back of the end zone. And it is a layup.
Yeah.
He misses it. Nebraska has to settle for a field goal. Whipple, did you see that Whipple on the sidelines was giving it to Casey Thompson? I think you could read I said, get him the fucking ball. Like Whip doesn't play. Whip with him and Casey. This is where Casey being 24 helps. You can't talk to an 18-year-old like, oh God, I thought I saw him and I had syrup on my hands and it slipped.
But if you're Casey though, the only thing you can't do is that.
Yes.
You can throw a duck underneath. You can, any other way you could imagine delivering the ball to the guy, you could punt it to him. You can't airmail it out of the end zone. You cannot do that.
It didn't even look like, if I'm mistaken, it was so off. Alante Brown didn't even jump. It wasn't even close.
Well, that's where I think short receiver, short quarterback. Like if you have a tall receiver, tall quarterback, you complete that ball. I think it's like when you're shorter, then you have to put a different kind of arc on it.
Maybe
when you're taller, you just dunk it over the tall.
Right.
Short receiver, short quarterback.
There is something too, having been a quarterback back in the day, not to go all Uncle Rico on you, like the size of, I know it sounds elementary, but the size of your target is that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Alante's tiny, but still.
He's wide open. All you got to do is that's your job as quarterback is you throw all day. That's not a hard throw.
It's a layup.
Yeah.
It is a layup. Misses it. Has to settle for a field goal. So now it's 27-23. Purdue comes back out. It's time for them to answer. They go 6 plays, 75 yards, 28-yard touchdown pass, another slant where Nebraska had not one but 2 guys missed tackles on the catch. Hartzog missed, and then Sanford, a walk-on from Nebraska who played a lot. He's got I
think Buford got pulled.
He must, because all of a sudden Sunshine was out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Sanford was out there a lot.
He blocked the punt.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I was talking about earlier. Guys are in position. Sometimes they run the play and they get it on you. Then just tackle them, and then you get a chance. Maybe they kick a field goal. Right.
Right.
Those are the ones that drive me crazy. Is that you not only you give up the catch, then you don't make the tackle. I just don't know how that happens.
Right. It's bad. Again, two guys missed him. So they score. And all of a sudden, it's 34-23. That's a pretty big bang where it's you go from a wide open, you miss Alante Brown, that would have made it 27-27. And then 7 plays later, it's 34-23.
Yep.
Big swing. Nebraska's next drive. It's not even a question what video game they're playing at this point. Second play from scrimmage. 72-yard. It was kind of an out and up, but it really was just a glorified fucking go route.
What's Purdue I was going to
ask you.
We criticize Nebraska DBs, but what are those guys doing?
I was going to ask you.
Let anybody else go free. Don't let that guy not be double teamed. Double team him. I don't want to give away the game plan on Trey Palmer, but double team Trey Palmer every play and make somebody else. I'd guard Vokalek tight and I'd double team Trey. I'd have somebody over the top and somebody underneath on Trey and be like, anybody else beat us. Try it.
How is Nebraska? How do they move the ball without Trey Palmer?
They don't.
They cannot do it. So to me, it's how are they not double teaming him? And then how is Trey? I get he's fast and we love him. And I saw today, Pro Football Focus has him as the number 1 graded wide receiver in the country right now.
Oh, that's good because then he won't come back now.
Yeah, okay. Easy Pro Football Focus.
Dang it.
Come on. But how is he also just how are you continually letting this guy just run Louisiana Bayou? How is it happening? That's the Damon Bidding line. I love it. He's going to be Louisiana Bayou.
Louisiana Bayou.
File save as future good lines. But anyway, slice it. 72-yard bomb. At this point, I don't know how you were. I am in a full-fledged, Trey Palmer, if I was going to call posters.com, I want a Trey Palmer poster. I want to join the Trey Palmer fan club. Is Trey Palmer seeing anybody? Is he have a crush on anybody in class? Is he like anybody more as a friend? Thanks, goodbye.
Oh,
that's where I was at with it.
I mean, the dude, that's a performance that we just have not seen in a long time. Ever, probably, is the right word ever?
I was going to ask you, we can get into it once we
Johnny
finish the game.
Rodgers ever had 200 and plus yards receiving?
Is that the greatest wide receiver performance of all time at Nebraska? I'd have to go back and I don't know Johnny, there maybe was a random game.
Johnny Rodgers, I gotta think has one that's
rivals it.
Or
Irving
better.
Fryer, because
but Irving just wouldn't give me touches. Johnny would have got the touches.
Right. Because Johnny would have the punt returns too.
The punt returns. So Johnny with the punt returns probably has, I want the historians to be give us some of those games. I want to know, but this has got to be up there for best game by a wide receiver at Nebraska ever.
It was, I cannot express for people to don't let this game go by. This is why I'm big on sports. Don't let moments go by. So I always crush people that rip on LeBron or try, you better appreciate athletic, great performances because you don't get a lot of them. Yeah. This was incredible from Trey Palmer.
300 yards and 8 touches. It was just an explosive effort. In the second half, it got to the point where it was I think it impacted, and we'll get to it, why Brom went for it on 4th down, because I think he knew, undoubtedly,
if the ball gets back to Nebraska, Trey Palmer is scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it.
That's why, hearing the fireworks, I couldn't believe we didn't get the ball back.
Right.
I assumed all we got to do is if we get the ball,
it's over.
Game time.
That's all
because I go, they're only up 6. I was like, game time. Right. Just give it to us.
So 72-yard bomb. Now it's 34-30. And at this point, I am just I'm drunk on emotion. Purdue then does a very Purdue 15-play drive here. They convert 3 third downs. They have the 4th and 1 inch that they complete, but Nebraska holds up finally and forces a field goal, but Purdue eats 6 minutes and 41 seconds off the clock. Again, they run 15 plays. Yeah. There's a cumulative thing here happening, and the score is now 37-30. Here comes Nebraska back onto the field. Another bad throw from Casey Thompson.
Yeah.
Because if you really, they never gave you a great replay of it, but they had one angle on it. Trey Palmer, it happened again. He is to the sideline.
Yeah.
Louisiana Bayou.
Yeah.
And Casey underthrows it
to the inside.
And Purdue picks it off. Big play there because, that could have been a touchdown.
Yeah, it's funny because he missed him in the first half when it was, I think it was the second quarter where Palmer was creasing in and he threw it out. But Trey was by him again. So, there was 3 missed deep balls to Palmer on top of what he did.
Right. Think about that. So it was a historic performance and it could have been even big. Again, if Casey puts it on him here, that thing might have been a touchdown.
Even if it's if he just makes 2 decent throws out of the 3, Trey's got over 300 yards.
Unbelievable.
We score again, probably. That's where it's damn.
Frustrating because, interception, Purdue's next drive, 6 plays. It ends in the incredible throw. We haven't probably talked enough about Aiden O'Connell. Dude played pretty good. Now, Matt Millen right now is Mrs. Millen, honey, call the divorce lawyer. I found someone new. His name's Aiden O'Connell. He fell in love. I don't blame him.
I'm a sucker for those timing throws where the guy's not even out of his break and the ball's on a freaking rope and you're turning it's unguardable. It was an unguardable couple of plays they threw.
This touchdown was. Yeah. It was the out along the goal line. Literally, I can't remember who it was. Was it Tanner? I don't know why Tanner would have been matched up on him.
Maybe.
But whoever it was, if that ball is just 6 inches inside, it gets batted down. But it is a rope put in the only place it could be, and it's a touchdown.
Yeah, it was a great throw.
So you got to give Aiden O'Connell his props. Touchdown. At this point, Nebraska's defense is completely gassed. Purdue leads 43-30 with 6:55 left. We buried the lead, but Purdue misses the PAT. And at this point, you're
see, I missed that. And I was wondering why I was how did this get to 6?
They missed the PAT. I felt
I missed that part.
You know the Grinch when he smiles evilly. Like, that's how I felt after the PAT happened, because it was like, Trey, get out there. Because guess what happens is Trey Palmer strikes again. Long crosser, catches it. Once again, incredible run after the catch.
Yeah, splits the dudes.
Splits two dudes. I thought he almost could have got in, but he ends up getting it all the way down to the 5-yard line. 2 plays later, Anthony Grant scores. So in 55 seconds, all of a sudden, it's 43-37.
It's nuts how when we got rolling, same way the snowball was rolling on offense, where it felt like, besides Casey Thompson throwing picks, all we had to do was just stay in the field.
Again, at this point, Trey Palmer has gone nuclear.
Yeah.
At this point, this is like if Tyreek Hill went and played like Hastings High School's junior varsity team. Like, that's honestly what it looked like. It looked like you had a pro against junior varsity players.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So he's rated as the number 1.
Just the grade. I don't think it's like I think like how he's graded. I don't think it's necessarily
weren't you? I don't know, who are you talking to about like who's like right now the highest in Nebraska's NFL stock, and Trey Palmer wasn't on there. I don't.
Oh, really?
I thought
that surprises me.
I thought you said it was like Vokalek. Maybe that wasn't.
Maybe it wasn't me. I don't know.
You. I thought it was like Vokalek, Matheson, Nelson were like the highest rated.
At this point, Palmer looks like a pro.
Palmer. Palmer. Well, see, I kind of thought Palmer was a guy that was going to come back.
I'd say it doesn't look good right now, which is kind of like,
after last night, it's like maybe he's going to start.
He's going to run all the way to Canton now.
Yeah, go run to the combine.
Jiminy Christmas. But 43-37 after 55 seconds and a touchdown. Unfortunately, Nebraska just never got the ball back. We talked about it. 4th and 1, ball at the 50. This is the respect. Now, Brahms kind of got some stones. Brahms got pulled out the wheelbarrow and he put his balls in it. And he was just like, hold on. We're going to go for it now. Hold on. But 4th and 1, ball at the 50, 3 minutes left. Pretty gutsy decision to go for it. He goes for it. Ty Robinson. It was one of those plays. It was a mass humanity of shallow crossers, and like
I think
8 people ran into each other.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Jones and might have been Maga Clements ran into each other. Like a bunch of people ran into each other, but it ends up Ty Robinson, Aiden O'Connell. Ty Robinson has, and you got to get him down.
You got to make that play, especially in the clutch. Like,
these are these moments.
This is like, I don't know, like, I don't want to be critical. He's a young guy, and but like, man, like, you want to make a difference. Like, that's the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Like, listen, that's what
that play, like 1-on-1 with a slow quarterback.
Right. Let's not act like Aiden O'Connell is
all you got to do. Like, is Sue making that play?
Yeah,
I know we'll find a way to not get juked. Like,
right,
get him down.
Well, not only I don't even think got a hand on him.
No, and that's just like that's where like, I don't want to just bash on any one kid.
No,
like,
but it's
our D line's got to find a way in that moment. You get
come up and make a play. You haven't made a play. You haven't made a play all game.
Stop them. You guys got to make a play. We never found a way to get to that quarterback. 101 snaps.
Yeah,
and that was snap 97 or something.
Right. So frustrating. Ty Robinson has a chance. You got to make the play. Not all plays are created equal.
Just get him down.
Get him down. It's Nebraska's ball at the 50.
Yeah. Yeah. And guess what?
Trey
Palmer's a nuclear reactor right now. You can't touch him. You will burn yourself.
Frustrating. But then Nebraska gets it to 3rd and 11 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. 3rd and 11. Bill Bush decides we're going full-fledged all-out blitz. Yeah. He brings everybody. And somehow Aiden O'Connell throws an unbelievable ball to Charlie Jones and he catches it. And then on top of it, Ty Robinson roughing the passer penalty. Jeez. And at that point, ball game.
Well, and here's the thing, though. Brom, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 2nd down where he threw
the ball?
So this is where, like, we need to point out. I always like to point out, like,
other people's issues.
Purdue's defensive
down with
backs.
LPP? Other people's
problems.
I think that's what Nadia Bonanger was.
I always thought so, but I'm an innocent boy. Jeff Brom threw it on 2nd down with 2 minutes to go. Like, what are you doing?
It's what he did. It's what he did against Penn State. Lost him the game. His management at the when he threw the ball and it was incomplete, because Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken, I think they'd used their last timeout.
Yeah.
And then it stopped the clock again on an incomplete pass. It was like, what are you doing? Especially when Nebraska is gassed at this point.
Yeah, run
the ball. But whatever. But it got to 3rd and 11. So it's just Nebraska had chances to get him the ball back.
They threw it 2 times with 2 minutes to go. Like, that's a gift, and we didn't take advantage of those gifts. Like the gifts of their mistakes, we didn't want to take advantage of. They gave us 3 in the last drive.
Yep,
3 gifts. We stop them, and it's Aiden O'Connell and you 1-on-1. Second time, they throw an incomplete pass. Third time, they're throwing it on 3rd and 11. They're going to throw the ball again. Got to get it
right. And on top of that, they just had a mistake of missing a PAT.
Yeah,
so the door was open, and you had opportunities to run through that door, and Nebraska didn't do it. And that's kind of been what it's always been for Nebraska for the past 5 years, whether it's Frost or Mickey. But so clock strikes 0, 43-37, Nebraska loses. We've already talked about it, but Trey Palmer, all-time performance, 7 catches, 237 yards, a single game record in Nebraska, 2 touchdowns, 1 carry, 60 yards. BTN tweeted this out. He's the first player this century with at least 225 yards receiving and 50 yards rushing in a game.
Wow.
We called him the MVP. We can pat ourselves on the back. We are right. I wrote down, how good is this guy? We've already been there.
How good is he? I still don't know. I still don't know, what his NFL stock is. You know what I'm saying? Because I see him just, dominate, but I'm, how good of a route runner is he? How good of a, catching the
he's kind of a body catcher, but that's how a lot of deep balls you kind of catch with your you're right. The one thing I don't know is what would be sometimes when you watch I can only bring back, I gotta be more well-rounded to be like, it's like basketball. You know what I'm saying?
So is he Chris Carter, or is he a poor man's, or can he become like Chris Carter's skills? Or not can he become, this is the wrong analogy. There's Chris Carter and there's Randy Moss.
Yes.
He's definitely closer to the Randy Moss. Right. So 2 teammates.
We're not saying he is. These are 2 Hall of Famers.
He's
I think Randy Moss is the
He's
GOAT
like a poor
receiver.
Man's Randy Moss. That type of just stupid speed.
Yes.
And he's also he's confident and natural. He's a natural. His movements are natural. But can he run routes and can he catch the ball? Like Chris Carter. Because that's Moss was the type that could kind of do both.
Yes.
And that's why he's the GOAT. Chris Carter couldn't do both, but Chris Carter was amazing at catching the ball.
Right.
Amazing at running routes.
Right.
So I think, can Palmer be, he's going to be more like a Moss athleticism, but how much of the receiver ability of a Carter does he have? I don't know that. Because if you're in the NFL and you don't got some of that,
right,
it's hard, because those DBs, man, they all can run too.
Well, that thing, his comp would be like a Tyreek Hill, where he's just running past guys.
But Tyreek is a jitterbug,
right? And Trey's not. I'm just saying, that kind of role.
Trey is seriously fast.
But my analogy for basketball is going to be I don't know is he one of those guys? Is he like a mid-major big man that is playing at Central Michigan, and you're like, okay, he's kicking ass and getting 14 boards a game because he's playing against college guys? Is he going to get to is he Tyler Hansborough or something like that? He's just a bull in a china shop, dominating the paint, able to get rebounds, score at the rim, and all of a sudden you get in the NBA and it ain't like that. Is he just abusing shitty college defensive backs? Because let's be honest, he made Purdue's secondary look like a junior varsity team.
Here's what I'd say is that his athleticism is so special. He is so naturally fast that he's got a high ceiling. I just haven't seen the completeness of his routes.
I agree with that.
Right? The Charlie Jones was just it was 90 degrees.
Right.
But here's the difference, though. I think Trey Palmer has the ability to sharpen those angles, to work on his hands, and you cannot teach that kind of speed. That silly speed that he has, and the instincts. He's got instincts too.
I was going to say, it's not just that he's running past. It's more than just being able to just run. He knows how to
He's running good. I mean, he's still running good routes.
Right.
I'm just saying, like,
there's an art to how he's getting open outside of just being fast.
He's pretty loose with what he does, but he's very confident. So, like, he's not a guy that doesn't get football. I think he gets football very much. I mean, the dude just put up 300 yards on 8 touches. Like, let's not joke with this dude. Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, we're projecting him now as, like, how good is he as a pro? Because now that's how good he is, Nick, that we're talking about it.
Yes, which is remarkable.
Like, is he a good college player? Like, done. He is.
Right.
Now we're talking pro. That's how good he is. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm starting to talk about Randy Moss and Chris Carter with him. That's where I'm like, I'm going to slow it down and think about this. But he, with that performance, just put himself in, like, now we got to start talking about this guy with the big boy stuff.
I've never in my lifetime of watching Nebraska football, I've never seen a wide receiver performance like that. And it's not even close. I can't even think of what a close second would be. He broke J.D. Spielen's single game record of 208 yards. I can't even remember what game that was.
That was Wisconsin, I think.
It might have been. Yeah, you're right.
He caught like an 80-yard touchdown. He got a couple long ones.
This just was different.
This felt different. This felt like domination. I mean, once he had the run too, because that just tells you
the run was like,
just get him the ball.
Right.
Like, and that's the part where I'm just like, I don't want to overreact, but I don't want to underreact. The dude just had 300 yards in a football game. That's a once in a lifetime type of performance, and it deserves recognition.
Yes, that's why I had to, even though we had talked about it, I want to talk about it again. Casey Thompson. Here's what's hard. And I thought Mickey had a good answer in the post game when they asked about some of Mickey's mistakes and interceptions. He said, well, listen, he's not going to make every throw. He also made some good throws.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's also hard about this is, like, he made 3 really bad throws, the 2 interceptions and then the missed touchdown to Alante Brown. But, like, dime to Oliver Martin. Bottom line is a lot of the deep balls to Palmer. Yeah, he missed a few, but, like, he also hit a bunch of them, so it's like, no one's going to make every shot. No one's going to complete every pass. No one's going to make every tackle. But it's frustrating because it's like, man, 3 throws and the game's potentially different. But what's hard is, like, he's getting 0 pass protection and he has 0 run game.
I think that's the part makes me, I could be a little bit more critical right now. I kind of want to be, but then I have to step back and go, he was getting sacked. He was getting pressure. I mean, the edges were bad.
These tackles are bad for your health. These left and right tackles are bad for your health.
And he's taking hits. So if the protection was perfect, I'm going to be more critical on him. I'm like, dude, the difference between winning and losing was those throws, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it, bigger picture, he's hanging in there. He's tough. He's making a lot of good throws. I think it's probably too critical to put it all on his shoulders.
It's not. And yes.
And the defense, but, like, he could have won us a game with those throws, but he needs some help. He needs some O-linemen to protect for him. He needs to be able to, Whip's got to find a way to run the ball for him.
Yes.
I think he's got to find a way to run the ball and get him some easier plays at times, and especially when we're backed up. When we're backed up, we need to make it easier, because we can't have those interceptions in our own
territory,
in sacks in our own 10-yard. Like, we got to find a way to be better on our side, because we're really good when we when we cross the 40, we're freaking good. Like,
the red zone efficiency and beyond that and is outstanding.
It's like when we're inside our own, like, 30-yard line, we're such a different team. We're such a worse team.
Oh, but
they need to work. They need to think about what that is.
But Casey is I'll say all that to say also that I had supreme confidence that if Nebraska got the ball back, Casey was going to deliver. So there's also that.
That is something he has proven with his attitude and his play, is that he's not scared of the moment. I don't think he's scared of it at all.
No. And I like that Whipple can get, like, he's clearly not a puss either. Like, Whipple benched him one game, gives it to him, and, like, Casey's like, doesn't get in his feelings about it or whatever. He's I will say this though, he throws a pretty deep ball, man.
Yeah, it's been nice.
It is nice, but it's just frustrating. Like, we have a lot of respect for Casey Thompson. I think he's good. When you're writing down issues for Nebraska, I will write down a lot of issues before I even entertain talking about Casey Thompson. It's just frustrating because those 3 throws were huge missed opportunities.
It's asking a lot. We're asking a lot of Casey Thompson, but that's also a sign of respect. We're saying, Casey,
right?
We think you can win us that game. We think you're better than even what you performed at. You had, let's see how many yards he had last night. He had
we had to get over
354 yards throwing last night.
Right.
Okay. That's a pretty good game. He was 16 for 29, but a few more throws and we probably win. So I think enough of him that I'll put more on his shoulders, I guess.
What's amazing,
I think enough of him. I think, Casey, you could win a second.
Right. I mean, because really what we're talking about is all of his bad throws were layup throws.
Yeah.
You have the Alontair Brown layup. I mean, the one interception, it's like Vokalek's wide open. I mean, you just got to get it to him.
Yeah.
And then Trey Palmer's open. You cannot underthrow him. So it's hard. I mean, there's a balance here with the Casey Thompson, but it's, it's like that, the coaches always give you the line. It's like, when I stop coaching you, that's when you got to worry.
That's it. When we stop
turning on the mic and talking about Casey,
when we stop saying he should have made that throw, that means that we just think you can't make the throw.
We know
we think you could make it and you should make it.
I know
he knows that. You saw him after he missed Alontair. He doesn't usually get too worked up.
He went in the sumo.
Are you kidding me?
So let me get a quick sumo in. Sumo is not a great look for anybody outside of Mike Piazza playing catcher there. But okay.
Playing catcher would be hard, by the way.
Oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. How do they do? I mean, that's horrible. It's got to be a more efficient way. I'd be like, boss center, but I'm just going to I'll stand and put my glove down. You know what I'm saying?
I go one knee if I'm catcher. I just go one knee. Can you do that?
I don't know why not. Yeah, why not?
It seems like
it seems like you could. This offensive line, though. This is maybe the worst offensive line I've ever seen in Nebraska. And I know that's hyperbole and it makes you go, I'm not sure I've ever seen an offensive line this bad at both. They can't protect Casey. They can't run the ball. This is really bad. And it's hard because, again, Nerlens Noel was going to be a starter. Teddy Peño ass down, got hurt. Again, these tackles are a danger to Casey Thompson's health. And again, I talked about it at halftime. You take away Palmer's 60-yard run on the reverse. You take away Casey Thompson's 31-yard scramble. And you take away Ramir's 17-yard draw play. That's 108 of the 122 total rushing yards on 3 kind of unconventional weird plays. When you talk about lining up, handing the ball off to Anthony Grant, they couldn't dream of doing that. And we know, by the way, that Anthony Grant is a real dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know. You don't even have to add anything. It's I'm water's wet. This offensive line's bad.
I'm trying to think, as you said, this is the worst offensive line we've ever had. And I'm looking back, we had
with McGee and Johnny Holding and Frank Falstart.
We had in 2020, we had Jaimes, we had O'Doyle, we had Faranoak. Who was our right tackle? Who is our right tackle?
I love when you butcher last. You talking about Farniak?
Farniak? Oh, yeah.
Faranoak? Is that what you said?
Faranoak.
I love when you butcher. It's like your Yant thing.
Yant, Kovaleric. I don't know these guys. Names are hard. I'd be one of those guys up in the booth.
Faranoak.
I'd be bad in the booth.
Okay, I'm sorry. Keep going. You are a true coach. Coaches never know last names. Faranoak.
God
damn it.
Rosenberger,
get in there. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, sorry, but
anyway,
that group struggled. But
who am I missing on that starting line from? Was it Piper, Bo Wilson? I'm trying to think who's the right tackle. Benhart wasn't the tackle in 2020.
No, there's somebody we're missing on that. I don't know.
But anyway, Jaimes was an NFL guy. Faranoak.
Let's just call him Faranoak.
Farniak. Gosh, Faranoak. Farniak.
Keep going. No, I like it.
Those guys are like NFL guys, and we thought they weren't good.
Right. So you're telling me to back it down, Bahe?
Well, no, I don't know that I am. I'm thinking that we like most things, sometimes they can get worse.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, what do they do well?
Doyle is a stud in the NFL right now, and we at the people.
I wanted him benched.
You wanted him benched, and
it wasn't because of anything other than the fact that like he couldn't snap the ball. Like
That's
so, in
fair.
my defense, I wasn't like when he pulls his hips. I don't like what happens. No, it's just like he snapped it over the quarterback's head.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like,
I don't know, man.
I felt like when we had Prohaska and Cochran on the left side, the run game was better. The run game was better because you had Cochran at guard. Now he's at tackle, and then now Benhart's pulled and Hunter Anthony's in there. Noelli's out for there's a lot of
things that have happened that
feel like,
but boy, oh boy,
man, we need to find some dudes that can block and can just enough to protect our guys so we can be basic enough.
Hold that thought. Let me talk about the defense for a little bit, then I want to circle back to that. Because there's a nugget here that involves one Bo Robert Ruud. So, total plays run yesterday. Purdue ran 101 plays. Nebraska ran 52.
Oh.
Purdue's 101 plays are the most faced by a Nebraska defense since Iowa State ran 102 in 2007.
Whew. Yeah.
You faced 102 plays in that game?
Yeah, that was a theme.
That was your 92-yard pick six.
Yeah, we won that game. I mean, you usually don't win games
giving up 102 plays.
Give 102 plays. Yeah, right. Like usually don't. We did.
Well, I wanted to ask you, like, what's that like? Give us it, because we go like, oh, it's not good. Like, what is? Because there's got to be a real thing to.
Nick. Now,
do you remember?
I do remember because I felt like. And this was one of my biggest criticisms of Bill Callahan is he didn't protect our legs. We would run 100. I'd do like 100 snaps every practice that were supposed to be full speed.
Right.
And I'd always ask my brother, like, how many of you guys do full speed? And he'd say, like, in the pros. And he'd be like 30.
Oh my God.
So we're doing like three times the workload 3 times a week.
Right.
And we just had dead legs all the time.
Right.
But like at the same time, like, and we had to play these games. We played the Texas Techs. We play Missouri, Kansas,
Mike Gundy, Okie State.
Right. We played a lot of these teams that were trying to do those type of things where they trying to
get
hold the
90
ball,
plays and all
lots of little throws, tons of plays. So we were kind of in a weird way used to it, but we also had dead legs for 4 years. So.
But it's amazing. I saw that and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, Iowa State, 102 plays.
By the end of the game, you are a little bit just like, you just feel like mushy a little bit.
Well, I felt like Purdue ran a bajillion plays, and it's amazing to think that you saw a team run 102.
I'm actually surprised. I would have thought it would have been a different game, but that's a lot of plays.
101 plays. Time of possession. Purdue, 42 minutes and 42 seconds. Nebraska had the ball for 17 minutes and 18 seconds. So we've talked about this. Like there's just a cumulative thing to this where the defense is on the field for 42 minutes and sees 101 plays. Like it's twofold. Nebraska's got to do a better job of getting off the field when we can get off the field, but Nebraska's offense cannot do the snowball thing where they just go in the shitter for a few drives and keep putting the defense back out after some bad 3 and outs. But holy mackerel.
And it's hard to play the game where you're chasing points too, because, I think the sign is for us, like, I think we got to find a way to run the ball in the first half, or you got to score points immediately. Like you got to either get points or you got to hold the ball early. You can't do what we've done, which is play your worst football and get down in like snow and help snow. Like that's just, it's a losing formula. Yeah. So we got to find a way to run the ball and just control the clock a little bit better. Like, or just, I don't want to take away from some Trey Palmer throws.
Right.
But we got to mix that with like controlling the ball too.
Yeah. Cause it's just, come on, 101 plays, 42 minutes time possession. Good gracious. We've already talked about this a little bit, but it bears repeating and kind of assessing the defense. The tackling was bad again. I'm not sure exactly what to attribute that to. Again, you cannot underestimate Luke Reimer, Nick Henrich Luke Reimer didn't even play, Henrich out of the game. Some of that stuff makes a difference. Like you said, a lot of the bad tackling was from the secondary. But it's just, unfortunately, it felt like Indiana Rutgers were steps forward for this defense, and this was a big step back. This looked like Georgia Southern and North Dakota and Oklahoma a little bit to me.
Yeah, it was a little less.
And maybe it's because you saw just a better.
I mean,
I don't know.
The way people talk about Jeff Brom, he must be pretty dang good.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I think he's a good coach. I just don't, I'm not watching his scheme every week. Like I know what he does. He's clearly has success, but with the way you hear other coaches talk about him,
I'll defer to them.
A lot of respect there. But man, it's like, to me, our problem was more simple things. I mean, just
tackle. If you just tackle better,
if we tackle better that game, it's such a different game.
And again, you cannot have 54 pass attempts and with 60 potential opportunities of dropping back and get 0 sacks.
No,
you just can't. I mean, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, it seemed like we didn't blitz much that game.
No, it seemed more.
We dropped a lot.
Yeah, it seemed more like against Indiana and Rutgers. It seemed more aggressive, and I don't know what I'm looking at. Like you are, it just seemed more like press cover. It seemed like more bailing.
We did a lot of that 3-man rush, 8-man drop, which I'm not against that. I like that. But you have to do really well in that. Tackle.
Yeah, right. You got to rally the ball and tackle.
Because you keep everything in front of you and inside you, and then you go tackle it. And there shouldn't be much places to throw against an 8-man drop. I mean, nowhere to throw.
Right.
And then you should definitely have guys there to tackle. We didn't do either great.
No. And so it's just, it was frustrating where it felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now, some of it could have been, you finally saw, Rutgers quarterback situation was terrible. Indiana was without their top 2 wide receivers. I'm not trying to take away from anything Nebraska did because they did it and you can only go against who you go against. But all of a sudden you saw a real quarterback and, Charlie Jones is surgical. Like he's going to be a surgeon, I can only assume at this point with his route running. Real quick, special teams. Blocked a punt, 3 for 3 on field goals. Shouts out to Bleak Road. I kind of like Tommy Hill as a kickoff returner.
He looked like he wanted to run.
He looks like he's trying to, some guys get it and they're just like going to run into the pile. You know what I mean?
They're like, I hope I don't get hurt here. Like he looked like I would like to score.
Like this sounds weird. I feel like there's some kickoff returners that want the show of like, yeah, I'm going back to return the kick. I got it. Check it out. Just let me get to the 20 and go down.
I think most people don't want any part of returning.
Tommy Hill, like he's that guy, like after everyone gets up, he's like, I
want that guy.
Damn, I had that shit.
That is a great point. Here's why that's like it. The guy that's mad when they don't score, I know what their mindset is.
Yes.
It's very different than the guy that's like, I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get hurt. It's a whole different mindset. The guy that thinks I should be scoring every play.
Tommy Hill truthfully thinks he's going to return every kickoff for a touchdown. And when he doesn't, he is like disgusted with himself.
That's good. That means you're confident.
Few bad punts too from Buschini in that. All right. I want to talk about Mickey for a second. And because we've already talked a little bit about some of the stuff with the reaction from the media and people. We thought it was a little interesting, but I thought one of the things that became clear last night was like, there's only so much you can fix in Mickey's situation. Like there's only so much to me, Mickey has helped what is helpable. I don't even think that's a word.
Yeah, to me it is.
He's helped what is helpable. And you can't fix this offensive and defensive line like that.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of maximizing almost every other aspect of what you would because he talks about this a lot. Like we could control what we control. We can't control that. We need to focus on what we can control. Like what he can control, I think he's doing a pretty damn good job.
Yeah.
You can't just show up and all of a sudden your offensive line is good. You can't just show up and all of a sudden your defensive line is disruptive. Your reaction.
My reaction is like,
go for it. You're pondering a thought.
You may give Mickey here's some props for Mickey. Bring Trey Palmer.
Right.
You bring Trey Palmer, you solve some of the wide receiver issues. You know, like to me, this is like where it's too hard for me to evaluate.
Yeah. I'm simply
saying.
Yeah.
Like it's too hard to evaluate like the job Mickey's doing. I think he's doing a good job under the circumstances. It's just hard to be like, what's Mickey as the next head coach for Nebraska?
It's not possible. I don't know. I really think it's not possible. We've talked about this. Like a part of being a coach is casting a vision and all those things. Like I think it's hard to there's a ceiling to how much you can assess in terms of Mickey being a head coach. From what you can assess, I think he's doing a really, really good job. But my point in my initial thought was like, guys, we can talk about how good of a job Mickey's doing. Like, he can't fix the trenches.
No, I mean, this is a
right now.
Yeah, this is a trial by fire, right? Like, this isn't like your normal, like, well, my normal trial is you evaluate me at my other position for this position. His is like, nah, you're kind of in this hybrid position halfway through the season. Here's a match, like,
yes,
go. And we need to see this many wins and this kind of progress. And you got to figure out on the fly. Like, that's a whole nother animal that that is his test compared to Leipold or Matt Campbell or Urban Meyer. Like, those guys have their own test. Mickey's is different. His is a trial by fire. It really is. And so it's harder to evaluate. I think wins make it way more obvious. Now, if he doesn't win, then you got Nick. That's a real conundrum. If you like the things you're seeing, you like what the reaction of the players are and the recruiting and all that, you have to balance that with winning and losing.
That's right. Like, I would say even they lost last night, but I would say if someone said, Nick, did last night's game, you can open your bubbly and drink if you want to. You haven't even opened it yet. But
hold off.
Did last night's game help or hurt Mickey Joseph's case to be the head coach eventually? I would say it helped it.
You thought it helped?
I would say it helped it. Or I should say it certainly didn't hurt. I guess there's a difference between helping and hurting. I don't know how you could look at that game and go, that hurt Mickey.
Well, Trey Palmer went off, which I think in a weird way, because he's Mickey's guy, helps Mickey.
Yeah.
But the defensive performance hurts Mickey. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think I almost called a draw. Like, Mickey doesn't lose credit for that, but
maybe that's a better way to put it.
But the loss, so like some of the things they offset almost. So I would say he doesn't get positive credit for it either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't maybe get dinged as bad for a loss.
Right.
2 wins. Okay, good. Okay, this is a ding for a loss that would normally happen. I think, okay, maybe we don't get dinged, but I don't think he's getting another pass, Nick. I mean, if you can lose a game and don't get dinged, I don't think that happens going forward.
Yeah, you're probably right, because at this point, it was almost like these two wins in a row bought him even like a little bit of house money to go have a loss like that wasn't necessarily anything egregious on his part. But, it's unfortunate, man, with how things happened. Wisconsin lost in double overtime to Michigan State yesterday. Minnesota lost to Illinois. Then Nebraska hosts Illinois in 2 weeks. Like, if you would have won that game, like, holy shit, you had an opportunity. If you go beat Illinois at home,
I know
you're all of a sudden like, is Nebraska in the driver's seat for this thing?
We would be, and it would be, people be going crazy. I mean, to me, it's such a missed. I've been harping on the 3-win thing, going into it with a bye week coming. Like, if you get this win, the thing it does for Husker Nation, I think, is so underrated. So, I mean, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
That's why I'm frustrated. Is I wanted the fans to have that. I wanted to give them that win and then a week off of just celebrating, essentially. And then you got a big game against Illinois.
Huge game against Illinois.
So now it's still a big game. Illinois is number 1 in the conference with Purdue. But, like, yeah, if we win that, we're back in good shape. But we've lost a little bit of the momentum.
All right, I'm going to throw one more topic at you, and I know you're not going to like it because you hate these kinds of topics, but I just want to say it anyways. It is striking to me, and I get that not every coach wears their emotions on their sleeves and those kinds of things, but it is striking to me to watch the emotion and effort on the sidelines from Mickey Joseph compared to Scott Frost. Every time they cut to Scott, like, I don't think I ever saw him talking to anybody. I don't think I ever saw, for 4 years, he was like a zombie. He never coached anybody. He never talked to anybody. He just was deadpanned, looking at the field. Mickey is showing emotion. Mickey is talking to guys, high-fiving guys. They come off the field. He's over with the offense after Alante Brown. And like, he's talking to him, encouraging him. Like, Scott never. It's just remarkable to just like it. It's just amazing to see the contrast. And like, Mickey's out there like seeming like he really is coaching for a job. And Scott always just seemed very whatever.
See, I don't know that I ever thought Scott was that stoic or something.
Just really, I want you to really close your eyes. And did you see any moment in a game where you felt like Frost showed any emotion or was coaching?
I did. I felt like I would say I've seen Frost get really upset at referees. And
well, okay, let's exclude yelling at a ref, which to me that's the biggest misconception.
You're saying
coaching is not yelling at refs. People think that I cannot stand when people that is not, that's what people think. If you would put someone on the sidelines, be a coach, the first thing they would do is yell at a ref.
Okay. So you're saying though, the emotion.
Did he ever talk to a player?
Oh, I think so.
I feel like I did not see it.
I would be, I think that
I knew you'd hate the topic. I don't know. I'm just saying that
I don't know that I think that's the case.
I guess to me, it's amazing to me as to contrast. It was like Frost had to go from a guy that had no pulse on the sidelines to a guy that is really engaged.
But Frost, did he have more of a pulse than Tom Osborne? Probably. I just don't. I don't know that that's just like your personality, right?
That's what I'm saying. I get that everybody's not super emotional invest. I just don't feel like I ever saw him. It was just amazing how you watch football and you see different cuts to different coaches throughout the country on the sidelines. It's just Frost was always dramatically the most. I just never saw him talking to anybody, showing any emotion, encouraging people.
Also called the plays. So he's always on the headset calling the plays. Right. So I think that's part of if they showed Frost, it was usually I'm calling the play. He's looking at the sheet. Right. I think it's you see a guy like Fitz who he's not calling the plays. He's walking around.
Right. So is Dave Aranda's really active in that role?
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is more so it's kind of it's a dig at Frost, but it's something that's been, I don't know if it's I'm loving it so much with Mickey because I haven't seen it for years, but I've really enjoyed the emotion from Mickey.
So the hard part is if you're a coordinator, Nick, you have a response, you got to call the play.
Sure.
I don't know that it's fair to be well, Mickey doesn't call plays, so he talks to the players more than Frost is. Well, I would think he probably would.
Yeah, but I think just because you're calling plays, you can't
call the plays. Can he do what he's doing?
Yes.
How? He's got to call the plays.
Well, no, you got it. You can talk. If you're calling the plays, you can't talk to your team as they come off the field. You can't talk to a defensive player as he makes a mistake after you can't
when you're calling the plays
on defense.
On defense, you certainly could.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't ever felt like Frost was doing any of that stuff.
It's just hard for me to say I know if he did or not. I just don't. I don't think I paid attention to that as much.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to me.
But is that sort of the same revisionist history thing? Where all of a sudden,
no.
Did you have a problem with that before? Because I feel like you never mentioned it.
Well, no, I mean, problem's not the right word. It was something that always was I just feel like I never, Frost was always strikingly just not talking to anybody on the sidelines and didn't seem engaged emotionally to me.
But I guess I don't know that that's abnormal.
I guess for me,
is the normal thing, if Mickey is going around talking to everybody, if you're not a head coach that has no responsibilities in calling a play, that's the only time it makes sense to do that. I'm trying to think if you're responsible for calling the plays, you are legitimately busy doing it.
Yeah.
And then when you're not, the offense is out, you're usually discussing what's coming next. It doesn't you don't just get time to just be I'm going to go talk to the defense right now, which maybe is a good reason why head coaches should. That's why I kind of like head coaches that don't call the plays, Nick. Personally, I do.
Right.
If you were to ask me, what do I like that, but I also don't think that I can remember any coach, any coordinator coming up and talking to me for any real reason.
Okay. You would know better than me.
I'm just saying a head coach. Never. Bill Callahan would be a
extreme example. Probably,
it'd be an extreme example. He really didn't check in on D, but he never once came over and talked to the defense, right? So that's fine. But like I think I'm trying to be very careful about the revisionist stuff with Frost.
Well, no, I'm
like,
not doing.
I never saw that as a problem.
Go do some this week.
Yeah.
Ask people in your sphere of influence what I just threw out there.
It could be true. I'm just saying I don't know. It was never seemed like a problem to me.
I'm not necessarily. There's an interesting calling. It's an observation. I'm not necessarily calling it a problem. I'm just saying it as an observation. It's like I'm just struck at the difference in which the sideline activities from Mickey Joseph compared to Scott Frost are just like strikingly different to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But that's okay to me if it's just like, hey, this is their personality differences.
Yeah, it can't be phony. If you're not a rah-rah guy, you then don't be one for the sake of trying to be one.
But I also don't think that is the difference between winning and losing either. Like
no, and I'm not necessarily insinuating that either. That's not. I didn't say that.
I guess so. It's like, then why would we not hold, like, because I guess, like, is it better? Do you think it's better?
Yeah, to have a coach that seems more emotionally involved and seems to be like engaged with the players during the game. Like, yeah, I would rather have that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard though, because like it's still the whole thing. Like, you got to call the play. Like, I don't know. I think that's a tough one for me to just flat. Like, I'm not, like, to make a flat, like, this is the right answer. You know?
Yeah, I'm just saying that to me, it's more of an observation. I'm certainly not insinuating that this was the reason that Scott Frost failed as a coach. Like, I don't know how you could have deducted that from what I said. I'm just saying that it's striking to watch the two guys operate, leading the same program, the same team in such a dramatically different way from an energy and emotion and communication standpoint on the sidelines to his players.
I need to watch Mickey more carefully. Cause I mean, I'm watching him. I wasn't like struck by him being like overly emotional. I actually thought Mickey's like fairly composed.
No, but he's pretty emotional. He's not like crazy emotional, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see him going berserk. I like that he's like,
no, but he'll fist pump. He'll big old fist pump, run out, give guys high fives, talk to dude. Like, he's pretty engaged.
Yeah. Okay.
He's much more engaged. The other thing I was thinking about with Mickey is we had this would have been after I don't know when we talked about this now, but we used the Bill Callahan, Bo Pelini analogy of like the whole Mickey does well enough, but doesn't get retained, and how the locker room would love Mickey and how that would maybe create some sort of thing. I'm starting to look at this Mickey situation, and I'm taking that school of thought and I'm applying it to the fans, meaning that I am struck at how amazing it is that it feels like all the fans want Mickey to be the guy. Yeah. And I just wonder, like, if Trev, like, I would say at this point on October 16th, do I think Mickey Joseph's going to be the head coach next year? I don't.
Yeah.
That'd be my answer today. But if Trev's hire on paper isn't one of those like, oh, wow, nice, you wonder how the fans will react to the Mickey factor.
I think it's a potential sticking point, because the wins and losses will hopefully make it clear. Mickey wins out.
Right.
It's going to be clear.
Yes.
Mickey goes 500, makes a bowl game. I mean, then you might have a pockets of people that, I mean, Mickey's a Nebraska guy. Like, I think in the end, people, they want a Nebraska guy because they trust a Nebraska guy.
And I also don't know if it's in Nebraska fans' nature to, like, they're so supportive that they're just like, if it's a conditional support, like, they're just supporting Mickey because of the moment. And if then Mickey isn't the long-term guy, then they'll support who the next guy is. So I don't necessarily want to extrapolate this moment in time and say, like, okay, if they go hire Lance Leipold or something like that, or whoever, Matt Campbell goes 6-6 at Iowa State, but then gets brought over, like, are people like, oh man, like if Nebraska goes 6-6 and Iowa State goes 6-6, and they hire Matt Campbell. I'm just, and again, these are potentially good problems to have because you probably would want Mickey to make this decision difficult for Trev.
Yeah.
But it's just all I can go off of is checking the pulse of Twitter and the vibe amongst people. And it seems like a lot of people want Mickey to be the dude. And so it's just an interesting, I'm just putting a little breadcrumb out there of like something to observe here is like,
will it be contentious if he does well enough? Like if he does well enough and does not get the job, but then maybe comes back and is retained, I think Mickey will handle that. He seems like a guy that knows how to handle himself.
Oh, yeah.
And knows how to handle every situation. So I would trust that he would be okay. Sometimes players pick favorites. Sometimes fans pick favorites. And if he does well enough to like make it cloudy,
it's interesting.
It's an interesting potential problem.
And I don't want to create issues, but I'm just saying like these are very real.
I lived through one of those issues. And you asked the point, well, what if Pelini would have been excited? I go, Pelini would have been retained. Would it have gotten worse?
It's hard to say that because you're getting a good coach, but I'm just saying I'm going for more of the psychological locker room. What guys are behind what?
At some point though, you move on. I think.
Yes.
At some point, you got to move on as a player. You go, all right. Well,
he's not the coach,
made,
right?
And it's not going to change. I think the only time here's where it would get hard. It would get hard if Mickey wins a lot of games and doesn't get it. The guy comes in, gets the job, and retains Mickey. The new guy doing things that Mickey wouldn't do can't win.
Right.
The locker room will go, we can win with Mickey. That's the only thing. So if you bring in somebody, they better be good enough where Mickey's like, I would do what he's doing. This guy's doing. Like Mickey's got to be bought into that too.
The one thing is Mickey seems like he's handled this really well. I mean, he said Nebraska deserves a national search for this job. Like he's on board with Trev out there doing what he's got to do because it is a unique situation for Trev where it's like Trev has to give Mickey a chance, but he also can't go, I'm not going to call anybody and vet and interview any candidates until the end of the season. Like he needs to have, like in a perfect world, after the Iowa game, like you better
be done before then. Nick, it's got to be done. It's got to be done by
behind the scenes. It's probably got to be done before that.
Yeah, a week or two before the Iowa game. Like like this is where Mickey needs his chance, and that's why last night was important. Illinois is going to be huge. Minnesota, right? So the next two games
probably shape it in some ways.
Yeah, because then what's after? Is it Wisconsin after Minnesota?
I thought,
or is it Michigan?
I think it's Michigan.
Ooh, that's bad timing.
But I mean,
but if you can beat Illinois, Minnesota, Mickey then puts the heat on Trev. Mm-hmm. The heat goes from Mickey to Trev. Trev's in a bind because that Michigan game, I mean, we're probably not winning that game.
No.
But then you got Wisconsin, Iowa to finish.
It's a weird situation for Trev. Like, put yourself in Trev's situation. Like, this is your teammate, your former teammate, like their friend. Like, how it is when like your team, you have like a friend. You guys are almost like friends first.
Yeah.
You want to give him a chance. You also have a job to do. You got to do the national search. Like, it's a hard thing to balance on giving Mickey a fair shake at it, but also doing your due diligence to vet candidates. And
I think you got to go into assuming like, all right, we got to assume this doesn't go well.
Totally. I was just going to say that.
Try to get something lined up, but if it goes so well that it's undeniable, if it becomes undeniable that it's Mickey, you go with it. Or if it's like you don't got the guy you want and Mickey's done the job to your satisfaction, then maybe you consider like, is this a bridge?
Right.
A bridge to give him more time to be like, show me what you got more, right?
Yeah, because you also wonder if, you need to show him what you got. Maybe that makes that last night's loss so big. It's like you maybe only have a finite amount of time before Trev kind of has to really move on.
Mickey needed to win that game just because it puts more pressure on Trev to sort of
choose a direction to a certain degree a little bit. I don't know.
Or give him more time before he's got to pull. Like if he's got to pull, I don't know. This is a guy like Trev would know this answer. Like, when do you got to pull that trigger?
That's right. I wonder when. It would be fascinating to talk to Trev or to get into Trev's head of like, what is the realistic timeline of of when he has to like pull the trigger on this decision.
Nick, the fact that we fired Frost after the third game tells me it's sooner than you think it is.
Yes.
I think with NIL, with
the
transfer portal and recruiting, it seems like if it used to be December, it keeps coming back. Now is it start of November, or is it next week he's making the decision? Like,
yeah.
Or after we,
and the problem is a lot of these candidates, every candidate not named Urban Meyer and Matt Rule is coaching.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can, something can be done behind the scenes, but it can't be done until after Thanksgiving. You know what I mean?
I would assume most of it is like, we're contacting your agent.
Oh, yes.
We're talking through scenarios.
What would the number look like?
What would the number take? What would the infrastructure guarantees be? And I like all those things are going to be a part of it. The coach that wants to come here needs to feel like they're going to be supported, have the right fit, have the resources to do the job. That's the stuff that I got to think that they're going through that with a bunch of people right now.
And what's interesting, and we'll wrap this up here. We're just kind of talking, but like, do you think Trev probably has to interview these guys face to face? Or like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I would think so too, but it's like, I'm trying to go through here. Looks like Kansas has a bye week, October, the last weekend of like the Halloween weekend. I'm trying to look at schedules of when.
I think.
Hey, can you go on a recruiting visit to the Marriott Des Moines and look at that one linebacker, and we'll meet and I don't know. Or what that really looks like. Looking at Baylor's schedule. Does Baylor have Baylor's bye week?
Well, I guess they can Zoom now.
I guess they could. I just wonder what that,
They'll probably Zoom.
I'm just fast. This is a weird scenario for Trev.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. It's a good problem for him to have if Mickey can win a lot of games.
Right.
But like I said, I think Mickey's got, if we're talking about when this happens, it just feels like it's going to happen earlier than it used to be. Like you get every game of the season and then we'll make a decision. I just feel like that is the old way of thinking. My guess is the new way is like by the start of November, things will be decided. So
did we kind of think this 3-game stretch was going to be like, or was it going to be the 5 game, the Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, Illinois, Minnesota?
I think
is that kind of the interview?
Because let's be honest, if we beat Michigan, that's such a stunning,
right.
I think it's got, if he can win the next 2, the interview probably gets lengthened
because the problem too now is all of a sudden on paper, the 2 daunting Wisconsin and Iowa games aren't as daunting as they've been.
Yeah. It's hard because, it's like we do have, 6 games left.
Yeah.
6 games.
It's
so I think that's where like if he loses the next 2, I think Trev's moving on. I do.
Oh, I do too.
You know what I'm saying? I think so. I think he's moving on. And that's why this last loss hurts Mickey. But if he wins the next 2, I think Trev slows things down. I think if he has the ability to be like,
but I just wonder what that, like you said, had the ability. I just don't know what that looks like.
I'm guessing that, obviously you can only have to hire people when you want to hire people, but
right.
I got to think with the recruiting and NIL stuff, like they want things
got to move, dude,
in place, prepped, ready to go. So when like, if a guy's coming from another team or wherever, like it's hit the button, you're recruiting, your NIL, everything is done.
Well,
they got to be preparing all this stuff.
Totally. It's a lot.
You should.
It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with right now.
Yeah.
So interesting game.
Weirdly, like I said, the paper was weirdly positive.
Right. I would say the reaction, generally speaking, was very positive, although there were elements of that game that were bad.
Yeah.
Real bad. And so it's an interesting moment in time for people as they're assessing this team. That game felt more so like it's bizarre to watch a game, and I feel like I can at the same time say I have no idea how Nebraska had a chance of winning that game because they got dominated. But then also go, boy, Nebraska should have won that game.
So it was a little bit more like last year.
Yes, that game felt a lot like a Frost game in some ways.
So weird.
Very bizarre. Okay, so we got a bye week. That's good for Reimer and Henrich and those guys to get healthy.
You get another week to prepare and
go
through
for Illinois and the top dog because you beat Illinois at home now, and you know,
looking good.
All of a sudden the West thing gets real again.
If we beat Illinois at home, the Mickey hype train will be back.
Totally.
I think we'll be in good shape there, but it's gonna be tough. They're playing good football.
Playing really good. They dominated Minnesota.
Yeah, like well coached football. Their running back's really good.
Dude is tough.
Player. Leading the NCAA in rushing right now.
Yeah,
really, really good. So,
all right. Well, we'll be back. We'll get our wine pot on. We might do a coffee pot again. I don't know what we'll do. But man, that game was fun.
Lots of fun.
This is a fun game.
Should we treat this pod like Trey Palmer treats people?
Gotta go!